So where are you at in Ohio?
I'm in Willoughby. It's a small city east of Cleveland.
Nice. Did you grow up here?
I actually did. We just moved back here. I just moved here almost a year ago now. So this is a totally new house. We were in Euclid for like 12 years.
Wow. Well, congratulations. How did you get such unusual? Okay, so I'm from the south side of Chicago, which I see as comparative, but
Sure.
I feel like I feel like I lived in San Diego for 7 years and I kind of brought in the spiritual industrial. I'm so curious, how did you get your voice? How did you get your charms, your talisman? Tell me first about your work.
Okay. Well,
How would you
I'll start.
describe it?
I'll start with where I kind of think I got a lot of my aesthetic from. So I was an only child and a single parent family, so I spent a lot of time alone. But at the same time, I was growing up in daycare too. So that probably has a lot to do with it. Just that I had a lot of time to play around on my own and just do stuff on my own as a child. But my aesthetic, I think, really came in when I was more filling sketchbooks. I probably filled loads of sketchbooks throughout my life. Probably starting when I was like 12. I just always was doodling, drawing, filling books with whatever, starts out the typical stuff that kids draw. And
Mhm.
then geometry class happened, and you have graph paper in
Uh-huh.
geometry class. So I would sit there and I would fill all of the squares with circles for hours.
Ah.
Geometry class was boring. Great.
But you
And
like the paper.
yeah, the paper was great. And then the circles turned into shapes, and then the shapes kind of turned into their own little worlds. And I would just daydream and fill my graph paper with really weird, really weird stuff. So I filled sketchbooks with that. Then it kind of just turned into lots of different color design, just doodling constantly. And I spent a lot of time following music and musicians locally at that time. So I was in a lot of coffee shops, not bars yet at that age,
Yeah, right,
but
right.
coffee shops, like listening to music and filling sketchbooks. And that's
Oh,
where a lot of the aesthetic came from that kind of shows up in my work.
okay. Yeah, and it seems like you're saying you liked shapes and
Mhm.
symbolism. Like
Putting
that's what you could
shapes,
draw, right? Shapes
symbolism,
and symbolism
mhm,
and
putting shapes
combining them.
together.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
Interesting. Almost like puzzles though.
Yeah,
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 because your work is really a lot of complexity in a small space, which is pretty cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
really, and it's different from, oh, just excuse me, I'm in a big industrial workspace here, so we're gonna hear. But yeah, it seems like you really have a lot of beautiful shapes and symbolism. So what do you think about color? Is that also part of it, or is
Oh,
it
definitely.
mostly shapes?
Oh no, color and color theory has always been fascinating to me. I kind of probably see color, I think, more than maybe most people do. I don't know. I like when someone says that's blue, it's like, no, that's periwinkle, or all the
Yes.
names of the colors and the differences and stuff. So color is a big thing. I love color. And I love how they relate to each other. All the colors relate in a way and make you feel. So that's
Okay.
that's
Nice. Yes,
interesting to me.
definitely with color. Oh my gosh. So that is pretty cool. So mostly, so you from drawing, you jumped right into being a silversmith, or from drawing, did you also study other types of art?
Yeah, I tried really hard to escape art.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Okay.
It was like that thing that I always did from when I was little. I was always creative and always making stuff, but I didn't really have any concept that that could be a thing that you
Mhm.
could do. Like,
Okay.
you know, I don't come from a family that is artistic. They're all engineers. My mom's a like a math major,
Mhm.
and she does computer programming. And you know, I wasn't around anyone creative, and that I had no idea like that was even a possibility.
Yeah.
So going, you know, into high school, it was definitely something I was really good at and I could do. And then leaving high school, and then what do you do for college?
Yeah.
I tried to avoid it, but
Okay.
but it
Yeah,
did work out.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then how did you end up with your company? Were you at home with your kids, or how did you end up like, how did you decide to do your jewelry work?
Well, I mean, I eventually I was kind of I had to go the art route. I went to community college and tried to figure something out that was a real job. So you know, I delved into psychology, anthropology, just whatever, and always had art electives.
Mhm.
And then the art electives kind of piled on and piled on, and I was only taking art classes at one point, and then
Ah,
I started taking them as not even for credit. So I was just spending my time there doing that. And then I gave in and I ended up going to the Cleveland Institute of Art to finish out. So that's where I discovered really metal smithing. I almost went ceramics, but
mhm.
metal smithing was something, the sculptural, the tactileness of it, the three-dimensional quality of it was really, I just really loved working with my hands and making little objects and things.
Mhm. Oh my gosh. Well, that's great. I mean, so the Cleveland Institute of Art, I love it because it also has a practicality to it too, you know, where, and you were probably trained with, because it's an art school, but it's also like a craft school too, a
Yeah,
practical, I mean, you know, in craft in the good sense, it's like,
yeah,
oh my gosh. I mean, I went to the Art Institute of Chicago and we couldn't do jewelry to save our life. You couldn't
right.
sew, you couldn't learn to sew, you know, and it's like everyone was starved for it. We'd have to go across the street.
Yeah.
So the thing I like about Cleveland Institute of Art is that they let you also do the fine craftsman side of it too, you know?
Yes, yeah, somewhat. I mean, it still is an art school, and I had to unlearn a lot of that to do
Yeah.
what I do now because
Yes.
they don't really steer you towards studio work in the you know, like in the sense that I do.
Mhm.
It's more
Of doing your own pieces.
yeah.
You felt like they steered you away from doing your own pieces and your own body of work.
Yeah, in a way, well, what I am and what I like to make, it was more art. You know, it's art. It's art, and it
Yes.
has to have meaning. It has to
Yes.
be. You have to really be able to talk about it and write about it, and that's not really what I do. So it's like
You
you
want to do
should,
it visually in metal.
yeah. So you know, I learned a lot of technical stuff there, but the business stuff was just I just dived into it and just figured it out as I went. I have no business background and I have no business running a business, but
Oh my gosh,
it
that's
sort
great.
of worked out, I guess.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, that is a great story. So it became part of your life, who you are and what you're expressing.
Yeah, yeah. For the longest time, after school, I tried to do the art shows. You
Mhm.
know, that's that sort of thing. And I did that for a while, and it really wasn't. No, like no. So, and then I started having kids. So, in 2008, I actually quit working at all. For 4 years, I didn't do any metal smithing or anything. And
Mhm.
then 4 years after that, I was sick of working my jobs, which
Oh,
was I was doing custom framing
okay.
uh, then, and I just quit and started. I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out, and that's when I just started making metal smithing, working for me, kind of thing.
Good. Nice. Okay. So you mostly sell online.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, now I do.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes. Nice. Nice. So what does your studio look like?
It's in the basement. It's you can kind of get snippets of it occasionally on my social media. It's a basement.
Hey, all right. Nice.
I mean, I have a really basic setup. I don't have any fancy machines or anything. I have butane torch.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, that's all intentional metalsmithing. You know, it's like one of my favorite books was Tim McRae's.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like, and I have traveled to so many different countries
Hmm.
and I've seen bellows
Right.
pumping air into
Right.
a fire to,
Right.
to solder. And it's that part of it has always fascinated me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
good
cool.
for you. So you're doing all your work with butane. I love that. Well, that's
Mhm.
going to have to be something that has to go up under that. That's amazing. Well, I did for years and years. I'm just now creeping in my acetylene a little bit more still.
It's funny. I started with acetylene. I had an acetylene tank in my apartment at one point, and then
Wow.
don't do that. And then and then I had kids, so tank, things falling over it. I couldn't do that.
Yes,
So the
smart.
butane seems a little safer with them running around, and I just kind of it's easy. I don't know. I just like working with it, so it stayed, and I never changed back. I still have my acetylene set up. I just never use it.
Yeah, well, it's smart because it's so much safer. No one is going to be
Yeah.
breathing in the toxins. The butane sinks, the fumes sink. So, I mean, it's really so safe. I agree with you. You know, like people looking for small setups, you know,
Mm.
and it's incredible what you can do with it. So, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to hear that about you. I didn't realize that you have a butane setup. I want to hear how you fit in your kids, your job, your work.
Right, right. So like I said, it's kind of evolved over the years. You can't say that one way is going to work all the time. So in the beginning, it was kind of crazy. So my husband works. He used to work night shift at the hospital.
Mhm.
So we worked out like a routine. I also had a job as well during the evening hours. So gosh, how did we make this work? So he
Wow.
got home at like 7 a.m., napped until 2, got up, did the kids. I went to work. Well, I did the kids in the morning and he did the kids from 2 until I got home at 9. And then I worked. The kids were in bed by the time I got home, and I worked until like 2 a.m., sometimes 4 a.m. in the beginning. Like that's how it started. That's the only way I could make it fit. So in the beginning, that was with 2 kids, 2 years apart, and they're like toddlers. So that's how I started doing it, which was crazy. But you make time when you really want to do something. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
Um, so that was hard, and we made it work. And then he switched to day shift. I was still working in the evenings. And then when that happened, the kids were in school. So I worked while they were in school. Obviously, that was easier. And then I went to work and worked evenings. And then after that, I quit. I quit working. I'm like, this is too much. It was a little
Yeah.
too much. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to delve into doing what I do and see if I could make it work. And the kids were both in school. And I was like, this is great. I'm going to have all kinds of time. And then the third one came.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm like, oh, geez. So
Yeah.
that was unexpected. So we had to again make it work. And gosh, what did I do? I just fit it in. I mean, you
Yeah.
just figure it out. It's having a studio in the house helps. And we were in a smaller house, so I was able to be downstairs and still hear if things were crazy upstairs. My kids, I try and teach them to be pretty independent. I was independent, I could make my own peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, so you
Uh-huh.
can make your own. They
Uh-huh.
are pretty independent, and they took care of themselves a
Oh,
lot.
how old are your kids now?
Um, 14, 12, and 6.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay. So the thing, one of the statements that so many people ask is, so many people, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm working so hard. I can't quit my job. I'm trying to get my jewelry go. I'm trying to do this. And it's like, there, I feel like, and tell me if you agree, that every single person, like, we all have to find that way to
Mm,
get there. And it's a
for sure.
hard way when you want it,
Mm,
but if you want it, so
yeah.
what type of tip would you give to people who would say, hey, Jen, how can I don't get to work on my stuff very much. I have a job, like, what kind of a tip would you give?
I was there. I was there. I mean, if you really love what you do and you want to do this, you're not even going to need to ask me, how am I going to do this? Because you will figure out a way and you will find the time.
Ah,
Because I get crabby if I didn't make something. I mean, even when I
oh,
quit metalsmithing, um, I still made stuff. I mean, I still was creating things, whatever it was. My hands, they don't stop. They're always making things. So you'll find a way. If you really want to make it work and you really want to do it, you just have to do it. And I think getting rid of a lot of distractions is important. Um, for
mm,
me,
good
um,
tip.
I'm not a party animal anymore. I'm not, I did all that,
Yeah.
I don't really do too many social things. This is, I'm a mom and I work, and that's it. And I don't watch TV. I
So
don't,
you're saying, like, you should eliminate some
yes,
things to fit that in.
focus. Yes,
Focus,
yes,
eliminate some riffraff.
definitely.
Like, you can't pick 10 things that you want to do in your life. Like, if you have
Sure.
kids, a family, and you want to do your work, that means that you have to get rid of other things.
Other things that are a distraction or that are taking up your time, that do you really need this in your life? Do you really need
Right.
doing that? Or do you want to do that? Or do you really need to do this? So
Yeah. And do you do your own
prioritize and
cooking and
focus.
cleaning?
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you do your own cooking and cleaning too? Or do you try to make things easier and your kids
I
make their food?
I cook a home cooked meal every day.
Oh, I love
We
that.
sit down at the table and eat. Yeah, I don't eat out ever. So
Oh, that's
so
so
yeah,
good and so important to your family. I really
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Keeps you even more centered.
And as far as clean, I mean, hey, if it gets clean,
Hey.
it's clean. Well, I mean, my kids, they all have chores too. So I mean, they make the messes half the time. So
Yeah.
if they
Yeah.
need to clean up after themselves. So
Good. So you sound like you have a nice program. So, but how many hours would you say that you get to fit in a week? Now,
I
I know
take,
it's hard to say,
as many as I can.
as many as
Um,
you can. So whatever
yeah,
you can, you'll do.
whenever I can. I can't
Oh, you
do
have
the
a cat.
Yeah, that's Norman. I can't
Oh,
I can't do the late night working anymore. Because like now I'm waking up at like 6:30 most of the time, which was not me. I was a night person. I stayed up till 2, 3 normally in the morning, and now
oh, yeah.
I'm an early bed person now, which is weird. Um, and I wake up at like 6:30 in the morning. So I have a big day and not a lot of sleeping. So there's
Yeah.
always time
Yeah.
to make it work. But right, the summer is hard because, well, right now the kids, they're not home, which is good because they're all, one's at camp and two are at grandma's. So
Okay, nice.
they're not distracting me right now. Just this one is.
Just the cat. So cute.
So yeah, I forgot what I was saying because the cat.
Get rid of distractions, right? Although he's so cute.
Yeah, he's my buddy. So
Yeah,
keeps
it's
me
really
company
cute.
when I'm here by myself. But I'll
Oh,
just, like, time, you were saying time. So I'll just fit in whenever I can go down. That's why I have it in the house currently. I think in the future I'd probably have the studio out of the house and not here.
yeah. When your kids are older, I did the same thing. When my kids were in school, I just had it, like even, they'd be gone 3 hours and I'd be like, bing,
Right.
I have 3 hours. Like I wouldn't have 2 hours and 28 minutes. I would have 3 hours, and I would already have a plan. I know what I was
Sure.
going to do. So you can be efficient and get in
Right.
there. Yeah.
Definitely have to have a plan for the day.
So how can people buy your work then? So people can get onto you. Do you have like jewelry sales once in a while, or do you always just post work up on Instagram?
I'm not very organized, and I really should be like a scheduled thing, and I'm not. It's just you have to go and watch what I'm doing on Instagram, and I might one day be like, hey, I just made a bunch of stuff. You can buy this now, or I'll schedule an update. I do try and schedule updates. I try and keep them on certain days and stuff. But it's just if I send out an email if I remember.
Yeah. Okay. So more of like a real relaxed program.
Oh yeah.
So do you have do you have some people that pop on and they're like, I want to buy this piece on Instagram, and you'll sell it that way?
Not sometimes, it depends. Like some people
Okay.
are not in our time, zone. It's like
Okay.
they're in a different part of the country. So I'll usually give them, some pre-sales per se. If they see something
Okay.
that they like, I'll hold it for them. But for the most part, I try and make it kind of fair game, and whoever gets whatever gets it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's cool. So if someone got on your mailing list, that would be a good way to get at your work. Okay.
Definitely, yeah. I'm
Okay.
trying. I'm trying
Yes.
to do that. I mean, I'm terrible at business, so it's like I'm trying to learn all that marketing and all that stuff.
Oh, interesting. Now, are you in Christina's course? Christina does a marketing course.
I haven't taken anything. I have just
Okay. I was just curious. So many of the
no, not at
people.
all. Not at
Yeah.
all. I was just trying to figure it all out on my own, and so
Yeah.
far I haven't screwed anything up terribly.
Hey, and you sell enough jewelry so you don't have to worry about it. You
Yeah,
sell your jewelry that
so
you make.
far.
So yeah. So
I mean,
that's
every time I put it out there, I think, okay, no one's going to buy it this time.
yeah. So what really motivated you was just with all the sketching and drawing that you did, which is a really interesting approach. Being an artist, working in a small studio, yeah, you have a really interesting angle here. So, I like that a lot. Do you make all these tiny pieces yourself and cut them out?
The tiny pieces are made from stamps. So
Okay.
I never knew stamps existed until later, after like recently, really. I don't know what year it was, but there's a stamp guy, Danny Wade. I don't know if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So he reached out to me randomly on Facebook one day, and was like, hey, I have these stamps. I think you might be interested in these. And he was at that time he was selling secondhand stamps from Navajo makers that were trying to offload because they were retired at the time. And I was like, well, these are really interesting. Let me try them out. So I ended up getting a bunch from him, and I kind of got addicted because it's like the little shapes are like the little elements of the drawings, and I can use them in a way that I drew, kind of. And I can see how they can fit together in a design just by looking at the little shape. And I love that someone else made them, and there's a connection to another artist that I'm able to connect to. And I may not see what they saw, why they carved that particular design, but I just feel like there's a connection there that I really like. I like that I didn't make it.
Right.
And that somebody else
Pieces to the part. So it's almost like using found objects in some ways,
Yeah, it is.
surprises. And so yeah, it's like I always feel like found objects can bring your brain into a whole other direction. So I bet your found stamps do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started going a little nuts with the stamps, and they're in everything. So
I love it. It's beautiful. Yeah, really nice. And so Danny is also up at Tucson. Are you going to Tucson this year?
I have never been to Tucson.
Okay.
I went out west before. I started making really any jewelry or anything, and I loved it. But I haven't really had the opportunity to travel too much. I mean, I travel with the kids. We tend to go down to the Gulf, in down in Sanibel Island and stuff like that with the kids. So one of these days, I'm going to get my own plane ticket when I think they're at the age now I can leave them without worrying. And I'm just going to have to go out there one of these days. I got to meet all of these people that I
Oh, that'll be fun.
communicate with, I mean, we
Yes.
all communicate on social media, and
Yes.
it would be neat to meet everybody.
What type of a metal smithing tip would you give?
I would just say be patient. I find that people are all the time, they're like, why can't I do this yet? Like this one particular thing, right? Or this one particular, soldering or whatever it is. I don't think that these things come really fast. Like it took me a long time to develop the skills. So I think a tip would be to understand that it's going to take time to get to a place where you can come up with an idea in your head and put it in a three-dimensional form without any real serious struggles. That would be my tip.
That's an excellent tip. Yeah. Bravo. I like that one. Yeah. And it's been a long process for you too. And, it's like, that's what it really takes to get there, is have your voice, use your pieces. I think a lot of people at the very beginning, I used to have like a lot of people, and I talk about this, where they were successful in their careers,
Yeah.
they were so successful. And then they think that, oh my gosh, that was hard. Now I'm going to have fun and be a jeweler. This will be easy,
Yeah.
but it's just a whole other thing, it's
So
like,
true.
so they get frustrated. I'm like, look, this is like, it's not easy. It's different. It's just different. And it is fun because you're creating, when you're creating, it's fun. So, with intentional metalsmithing, you were important to me because there's, when I used to teach a lot of classes, I'd have 6 hours and people would make the project, which is good. You learn from technical skills from making the project, but then to, really get into your head and to create your own work and your own voice and to trust yourself to let it out and show it to the world. I mean, how, when you first started doing shows, I know you stopped, but it was probably hard for you to be like, this is my work, right?
Oh yeah, I was so young too, and and my work was completely different. It was, I was doing enameling and cloisonne, and the questions of what is this, what's this material, and it was all abstract, swirly stuff. So what is this a picture of? Nothing. What do you think you see? It was just a lot. I completely changed gears after doing shows, and
you learn by mistakes, right?
Yeah, or you just evolve.
Yes, right. It's like, in part of intentional metalsmithing, it is really about not being, just doing it and not being afraid to make a mistake. Not that it was a mistake, but that's a
broad
statement.
It's a part of the journey.
It's a part of your pathway. Yes. Part of your pathway. And, I just say mistakes because that's the general word that I like to talk about.
Yeah.
There's no mistakes.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. And when I say like it takes time, I think a lot of, especially with developing your aesthetic, like, the reason I bring up the sketchbooks is because I started developing my aesthetic when I was 12. So that's like 30 plus years later. That took 30 plus years to develop that. So
yeah, and I can see that you came from, it doesn't surprise me that you're coming from an engineering family. You probably have an engineering brain where you love connecting and solving problems. And it's probably also why you've been a jeweler for all these years. There's a lot of people that try it out and then they're like, I want to have fun. This is hard, or some people that stick with it. But I can see, when I used to teach, I can see in people's work who they are, right?
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So interesting. Oh my gosh, Jen. Well, I'm just so grateful that you're in the book. That's important to me.
Yeah,
People
thanks
are
for
going to
asking me. Thank
enjoy.
you.
Yeah. Okay, Jen, thank you so much. Mwah.
Thank you.